अच्छा स्क्रीन नजर आ रही है?
जी
चलो लेट्स स्टार्ट, ठीक है। ये वाला पेपर, दिस इज पेपर कौन सा है? February March 2019, ठीक है, कहीं किया हुआ ना। So starting with the first question. The first question states that pure water boils at 100 degrees centigrade. What happens to the water particles when the water boils? क्या होगा? What's going to happen to them? मास क्या
sorry
होगा?
sir, I like that. It's A.
ठीक है, ए।
Sir, I can't hear that one. Can you repeat?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, as the answer, yes.
ठीक है, A gain energy and they move further. As they move further apart. Next one. Which method should be used to separate a mixture of two liquids? Mixture of two liquids. Two liquids में क्या होगा? You use fractional distillation because they're going to have different. They're going to have different boiling points. The one would evaporate at a different temperature compared to the other one. As the next one, lead 2 iodide is insoluble. It's made by adding aqueous lead 2 nitrate to aqueous potassium iodide. Which piece? So aqueous. He's mixing two things which are aqueous, and he forms something that's insoluble. Which piece of apparatus are needed to obtain solid lead 2 iodide from the solid lead 2 iodide? Remember, insoluble. So what piece of apparatus would be used to
Filter funnel.
ठीक है, so a funnel with a filter paper, ठीक है, that's fine. What else, by the way?
Beaker.
Yeah, you need something to mix the aqueous lead nitrate and the aqueous potassium iodide, ठीक है, so that would be a beaker. और उनको measure कहाँ पे करोगे? You'll probably
Measure
missing
cylinder.
because he wants 20 cm cubes, so probably this one as well. So you don't need a balance, you don't need a flame, I think you don't need that. So it's what 1, 4, and 5. So it's going to be C. As the next part. What is the RF value of the substance S? S constant. I say S is that one. What is the RF value of S? क्या होती है RF value? It's a distance that's traveled by the dye divided by the distance that's traveled by the solvent. And everything has to start from the baseline. So the distance traveled by dye is Y,
Y.
and the distance okay solvent
X.
so it's going to be Y over X, right? Is that
Yes.
clear?
Yes.
So which row describes isotopes of the same element?
C.
ठीक है, तो one second. So isotopes are same proton number, different neutron numbers. Which one describes the structure of the positive ion in sodium chloride? But the sodium ion, no, that's the positive ion. It's 23 and 11. And sodium is group 1, so it's +1. So what is the structure?
B.
B. ठीक है, one less electron. Which statement about copper, diamond, and silicon? Four oxide are correct. पहले तो which ones are electrical? Copper is the only electrical conductor. बाकी दोनों तो giant covalent है. Like diamond is one carbon bonded to four other carbon atoms. And that carbon atom is then again bonded to four other carbon. So diamond is a giant covalent structure. Silicon 4 oxide is also a giant covalent structure. Silicon 4 oxide कैसा होता है? Silicon 4 oxide is like this, that it's one Si bonded to four oxygens. And then those oxygens are further bonded to silicons, which are then again bonded to four other. So वो भी giant structure होता है. That's similar to diamond. So they're both giant covalent and they are not conductors. ठीक है? तो silicon 4 oxide ने तो कोई conduct करना. तो कौन सा सही है? ये flat sheets किस पे होता है? Where is carbon bonded in the form of flat sheets?
Graphite.
ठीक है, that one is graphite. So we are dealing with diamond over here. C is in silicon 4 oxide. The silicon and oxygen atoms are covalently bonded as flat sheets. उसमें भी it's not flat sheets. It's drawn in front of you. It's a three-dimensional structure. ये metallic bonding, ठीक है? Copper has metallic bonds. Is that clear? It's a lattice of positive ions in a sea of delocalized electrons. Is that clear?
Yes.
Yes.
अच्छा, अगला part है कि composition empirical formula. Is saying that first figure out what the empirical formula is. How do you figure out the empirical formula? पहला काम क्या करते हैं? Divide the percentage by the AR
Divide by
method.
MR. Or
ठीक है, तो मुझे values बताओ. What is the value that you're getting?
for the nitrogen, it's 2.17.
So 2.17. What's the other one?
Oxygen is 4.35.
अच्छा, then what's the next part? You divide by the smallest. The smallest.
Yeah, divide by the smallest.
अच्छा, divide by the smallest. So that's 2.17. There's only 1/2. What are you getting? 1/2?
Yeah.
अच्छा, so you're getting N is 1 and O is 2.
Yeah. So
But remember, that's the simplest ratio. It could be N2O4 as well.
because
Or
it tells us a relative mass of 92.
yeah, it could be N3O6 as well. ठीक है? Because the empirical formula only tells you the ratio. So the MR is given as 92. So which one is it? I think it's going to be N2O4. Can you just total this up?
Yeah, it's N2O4.
ठीक है, so that's going to be your answer. That's the next one, Mole's question. It says that calcium carbonate reacts with HCl and calcium chloride gets produced. So 10 grams. So there's 10 grams of this thing. And he says that it reacts with 100 cm cube of 1 mole per dm cube hydrochloric acid. पहले तो मुझे दोनों के moles बताओ. Okay, what is 10 grams of calcium carbonate? How many moles is this? क्या होता है formula? Mass divided by molar mass.
Yes, mass over MR.
Calcium is 40, carbon is 12, and oxygen is 16. कितनी है ये MR? 16 ऑक्सीजन, कार्बन is 12, calcium is 40.
0.15.
नहीं, MR.
Oh, sorry.
कौन सा MR कितनी है?
100.
अच्छा, it's 100. So that means how many moles? That's 0.1.
Yeah.
So this one is 0.1 moles. What about HCl? How many moles concentration and volume is given? So what's the formula of moles? That's concentration times volume.
Volume.
The concentration is 1. The volume is should be in dm cube. So 100 divided by.
0.1.
So HCl added, that's also 0. How much
1.
about okay, which one is in excess?
Calcium carbonate. No, sorry. HCl.
Nee, you got two HCls, right?
Yeah.
And one calcium carbonate reacts with it. So with 0.1 moles, how much calcium carbonate would react? It would be half of that, right? It's going to be 0.05 moles.
Yeah.
Calcium carbonate will not be able to react completely, because if it were to react completely, then the calcium carbonate would require 0.2 moles of HCl to get 1:2. So the calcium carbonate is the one that's in excess, because only 0.05 moles is going to react. That's the first thing. So you always cut out the one that's in excess. You'd never use that. So according to this, the first statement, he says that 1.2 dm cube of carbon dioxide gas is formed. So according to this, calcium carbonate is 0.05 moles. So carbon dioxide kitna hoga? That's going to be exactly the same, right? So it's going to be point. So what is the volume of carbon dioxide? How do you find volume? 24
Volume
dm.
is, yeah.
So what do you get? I think you're going to get 1.2 dm cube.
Yeah, it's 1.2.
Then he says 5.6 grams of calcium carbonate will be produced. Now, chloride. So that is also exactly 0.05 moles, right? So
Yes.
इसको the MR से multiply करो ना कि what's the mass of this thing? 1 second. So what is the mass? 0.05 multiplied by the whatever the MR is. Okay, 40 and 35.5 and 35.5, that's 71.
5.55, so 5.6.
So 2 is also correct. 4.8 grams of carbon dioxide is formed. Now you knew the moles of carbon dioxide, right? It was 0.05 moles. So you can find the mass as well. 0.05 moles multiplied by the MR of carbon dioxide, which is 44.
2.2.
44. So that's wrong. No calcium carbonate is left when the reaction is completed. That's also wrong. Okay, calcium carbonate will be left because only 0.05 moles is reactive. Is this clear? This one?
Yes.
This का जो answer, that's 1 and 2. Which substance is not produced during the electrolysis of concentrated aqueous NaCl? So electrolysis हो रहा है, ठीक है? अच्छा, अब electrolysis में you've got 2 electrodes. So you got 2 electrodes. अब बताओ NaCl कौन कौन सा है NaCl में?
So 1 second, can I excuse? Need to get the print.
ठीक है. अच्छा, वैसे कर लेते हैं NaCl में कौन कौन सा है? That's Na+1. Cl minus 1, you got H plus 1, and you got सारे cations जो है ना, they'll be at cathode. Negative 1 will attract all the positive, and all your anions will be at your anode. ठीक है. अब यहाँ पे electrons, somebody has to gain electrons. ठीक है. Someone has to gain electrons. Electrons are coming in. The electrons are going to be gained. The one that's lower in the reactivities. The reactivities कहती that's like if I were to write the reactivities KNSEAMG, AL, ZN, FE, SN, PBH, AU. तो जो lower होगा reactivities में, that's the one that's going to gain electrons. तो हमारे पास जो है ना वो H, that's the one that's lower in the reactivities. Na जो है ना, that's like right at the top. So that's not the one that's going to gain electrons. तो यहाँ पे वो diatomic है, so it's going to be 2H plus 1, that will gain 2 electrons and they would form an H2 gas molecule. कौन clear है?
Yes.
और concentrated का हमने पहले पढ़ा था कि दूसरी साइड पे ना whenever Cl ions are concentrated, so you always select Cl minus 1. They're always going to be preferentially discharged. ठीक है. So Cl minus 1 are the ones who positive electrode को ना battery will give electrons. So 2Cl minus 1, they would lose electrons, they would form Cl2 plus. So which substance is not produced during the electrolysis? Not produced.
Sodium.
Okay, sodium is not produced. So just give me 1 second. I say clear question.
Yes.
और NOH कहाँ पे produced हुआ है? NOH produced हुआ है कि यहाँ पे solution में H is gone, Cl is gone, so solution is left is NOH, right? So chlorine, hydrogen, and all the three are getting produced. ये वो आ गया aqueous copper sulfate. Using copper sulfate, remember it's going to be asked very frequently. ठीक है. So copper sulfate में क्या होता है? अच्छा, copper sulfate with copper electrodes. अच्छा, with copper electrodes. उसमें कौन सा है जो copper sulfate में? It's going to be copper plus 2, SO4 minus 2. There's going to be H plus 1 water, and there's going to be OH minus 1. ठीक है. अब इधर तो वही होगा कि who's going to gain electrons? The one that's lower in the reactivities. So if you go and have a look at the reactivities, so the copper is the lowest in the reactivities, right at the bottom. तो यहाँ पे क्या होगा? Copper is the one that's going to gain electrons. Clear है बात?
Yes.
अच्छा, जब now remember, these are not inert electrodes. The electrodes that we have with us, these are not inert electrodes. This is a copper ka electrode, and that's not inert. So when it comes to losing electrons, who's the one that's going to lose electrons? पहले था OH minus 1 and SO4 minus 2. You would select one of them, but whenever it's a metal electrode at anode, so the metal likes to lose electrons. So metal ही electrons lose कर जाएगा, and it will start dissolving. So your solution will have all of a sudden a lot of copper plus 2 ions because your metal electrode is getting dissolved. ये बात clear है?
Yes.
just hold on 1 second. एक second देना मुझे. अच्छा चलिए आवाज आ रही है. हेलो.
जी.
अच्छा ये वाला पार्ट क्लियर है. ये जो भी हमने किया है कि रिमेम्बर दिस कि जब ये मेटल का बना होता है ना दिस थिंग द इलेक्ट्रोड इज मेड आउट ऑफ अ व्हेन इट्स मेड आउट ऑफ अ मेटल. ठीक है. तो अच्छा व्हेन इट्स मेड आउट ऑफ अ मेटल तो ऑलवेज रिमेम्बर कि कैथोड पे तो वही हो होता है द लीस्ट रिएक्टिव राइट. दैट्स द वन दैट एक्चुअली gains electrons reactivity sees में. लेकिन इधर ये होता है कि it's always the metal that ends up losing electrons. बैटरी जब इलेक्ट्रॉन्स वापस मांगती है तो the metal is the one that ends up losing electrons. So that's why the correct equation is going to be A. Is this clear? This part?
Yes.
Yes.
ऐसे फिर अगला part है कि there's 10 grams of ammonium nitrate is added to water at 25 and the mixture is stirred. The ammonium nitrate dissolves after 1 minute. Temperature in the solution is 10 degrees centigrade. तो पहले कितना था 25 था. Now it's जब उसको डिसॉल्व किया ना इट्स 10. तो क्या इट्स एंडोथर्मिक या एक्सोथर्मिक?
Endothermic.
Exhaust.
ठीक है. सो इट्स एंडोथर्मिक.
Sorry, and
फिर है वो कह रहे हैं ये रिएक्शन है इट्स एक्सोथर्मिक. विच स्टेटमेंट ऑफ द रिएक्शन इज करेक्ट? कौन सी स्टेटमेंट करेक्ट है? व्हाई इज इट एक्सोथर्मिक? मतलब हर रिएक्शन में क्या होता है? ओल्ड बॉन्ड्स हैव टू बी ब्रोकन राइट एंड एनर्जी इज नीडेड फॉर दैट. And then you have bonds formed.
B.
ठीक है, so उसके अंदर what's going to happen? Energy is going to be. So every reaction, you're breaking some bonds, so energy is going to get used up, and you're forming some bonds. लेकिन if it's overall exothermic, that means more energy is released. ठीक है, तो B में वो कह रहा है कि energy absorbed for bond breaking is less, and the energy that is released in bond making, that's more. ठीक है, तो B is correct. Clear है बात?
Yes.
Yes.
That's the next one. You're given the amount of energy produced per gram is shown for 3 fuels. So per gram, right? Which statement is correct and is an advantage of hydrogen oxygen fuel cell? So advantage, right? So पहला तो advantage नहीं है. Hydrogen is difficult to store. So that's obviously it's not an advantage, right? Hydrogen produces less energy per gram than methane or petrol. वो तो ऊपर लिखा हुआ है कि it obviously produces more, right? More yield per
D.
gram. कौन सा?
D.
The only product is water. Platinum use होता है हाइड्रोजन ऑक्सीजन फ्यूल सेल में, ठीक है, वो एक्सपेंसिव होता है. It's an electrode. That's the only good thing. You don't get any pollutants. ये बाकी में कौन से pollutants होते हैं वैसे? मतलब
I
मीथेन,
think
heat.
carbon dioxide.
Carbon dioxide causes what? Global warming.
Yes.
तो उसकी वजह से क्या होता है कि glaciers melt, sea levels rise, unpredictable weather patterns. ठीक है, कार्बन मोनोक्साइड भी प्रोड्यूस होती है, वो क्या करती है?
It's a toxic gas.
ठीक है, it causes choking. ठीक है. Now next one, a student adds dilute hydrochloric acid at 2 different temperatures to do 2 different lumps of limestone. So dilute hydrochloric acid to 2 different lumps of limestone, and basically limestone क्या होता है? That's calcium carbonate, right? So he's adding HCl to it. So acid carbonate plus acid क्या होता है? Salt, which is calcium chloride, plus water plus
Carbon dioxide.
carbon dioxide. I said the volume of carbon dioxide collected in 1 minute at each temperature is shown. तो 50 के ऊपर ना ज्यादा हुई है volume of gas collect. क्यों होती है 50 पे? Why do you get more?
More kinetic energy.
ठीक है, you get a fast reaction. ठीक है, so which one describes and explains the results obtained at 50? तो reaction rate क्या है? It's higher, right?
Yes.
और energy of
Energy
collision
is also high. So B.
ठीक है, so you've got faster collisions, more energetic collisions. Which reaction is reversible out of all of these?
D.
ठीक है, D, water of crystallization. A salt will always can absorb the water of crystallization back again. अच्छा, अगला part है some nitrogen dioxide, ये equilibrium का, ठीक है, reaction is equilibrium, and the forward reaction is an exothermic reaction. So if you place it in cold water, the color becomes पहले तो cold water के अंदर, if you place it in cold water, temperature decrease करोगे, what will happen? Which reaction is favored if you decrease temperature? Is it exo or endo?
Exo.
ठीक है, so whenever you decrease temperature, the exothermic reaction is the one that's going to be favored. और उससे कहा है, he already stated that the forward reaction is the one that's exothermic. So you're going to get more forward reaction. तो color क्या हो जाएगा? Darker or lighter?
Lighter.
So it does not become darker. So it does not become darker. B भी फिर गलत ही होगा. If you put it in hot water, if you increase temperature, कौन सा favor होगा? That's going to be
Endo.
and endo is the backward one, right?
Yes.
So the color would become darker. In this case, it will become darker. ठीक है? So, अच्छा, if the volume of gas syringe is increased, जब आप वॉल्यूम इंक्रीज करते हो, प्रेशर को क्या होता है? कम करते हो, ज्यादा कर रहे हो?
Increased volume is less pressure.
So we are lowering the pressure, right? Lower pressure कौन सी साइड को फेवर करता है? More gas, less gas?
More gas.
ठीक है, more gas. तो more gas किस साइड पे?
Left side.
ठीक है, that has more gas. That has more gas and the color will become darker. because n वाली है. अगर वॉल्यूम कम करोगे, so basically what are you doing? You're increasing pressure. Less gas, which is forward, which is lighter in color. ठीक है, so D is correct. Clear है ये?
Yes.
बस just remember increased temperature endothermic, decreased temperature favors exothermic. Increased pressure favors less gas, decreased pressure favors more gas. As which statement describes what happens in this reaction? So what happens in this reaction?
D.
ठीक है, ऑक्साइड का क्या मतलब है? गेन ऑफ?
Yes. It gains oxygen or loses electrons or hydrogen.
Loses H or loses electrons. तो कौन सा था? क्या कहा था?
D.
It's losing oxygen, right? So it's getting reduced. ठीक है, so carbon is getting reduced. D is fine. And magnesium is the one that's getting oxidized. ठीक है. अच्छा, which change involves reduction? What is reduction?
Gain of electrons.
आप बताओ कि which change involves reduction? What about the first one? जो पहला
No.
वाला भी. Hmm?
No.
That's a loss of electrons. That's oxidation, right?
Yes.
That's a second one. Does it involve a reduction? Second one, में copper oxide is turning to copper, right?
Yes. That's
Copper oxide.
oxidation.
Copper oxide. That's a loss of oxygen, right? So loss of oxygen is what?
Oh yeah. Reduction.
So that involves reduction.
What about 3, sir?
3 is also fine. It's gaining electrons, right?
Oh, my bad. I thought there was only one option. I didn't see there's multiple options. Sorry.
I said. Last one, nothing is happening because they're not. The charges remain exactly the same. Like in PbSO4, it's still plus 2n minus 2. So nothing happens, right? So it's 2 and 3, right? Is this clear?
Yes.
Yes.
अच्छा, ये इसमें बस याद रखना कि oxidation is this thing, anything of the above, or the 3 things: loses electrons, gain of oxygen, or loss of H. Or वो दूसरा reduction is the opposite. Now this one, barium hydroxide is an alkali. It reacts with hydrochloric acid. How does the pH of the hydrochloric acid change? So you got hydrochloric acid. He's saying, how would the pH of your HCl change if you add an excess of barium hydroxide? So how would it change? HCl का start में pH क्या होगा? इसको start में.
HCl will be 1.
So at the beginning it's going to be 1. and then it will get neutralized. So when it gets neutralized, it will form a salt. So the pH will be what, 7? And then when you add excess of barium hydroxide, the pH will become alkaline because the barium hydroxide has nothing to react with. So your solution will now just contain extra leftover barium hydroxide. So pH will be 13. So क्या हो रहा है? It's
D.
13 a D.
Yeah, 1 to 14.
ठीक है. Which is aluminum oxide की property? Which one describes the property of aluminum oxide?
B.
ठीक है. Remember, it's amphoteric.
Amphoteric.
It's very inert. It is aluminum के ऊपर ना tough coating होती है aluminum oxide की. So it's very inert and tough. As a result of 2 tests on aqueous solution of X are shown. So ये green precipitate कौन form करता है निवेश के साथ? Do you know what copper precipitates are?
No.
कॉपर के ब्लू होते हैं. मतलब ये टेस्ट ऑफ कैटायंस वगैरह ठीक है वो कहाँ पे है? One second. Over the notes. ये सारे टेस्ट हैं. अब यहाँ पे you got a lot of things, but remember the colors. ठीक है. Colors. If you look at copper, it's blue, light blue precipitate. Green जो होता है ना उसका iron 2 का होता है. Brown जो होता है red brown, that's iron 3. ठीक है. Is this clear? Chromium का वो green होता है, grey green precipitate. Is this clear?
Yes.
Yes.
तो है तो ये iron 2. What about और iron 2 iodide होगा. What's this other test? Silver nitrate वाला. Silver
Anion.
nitrate anion का test है. That's this one. कि if you look at I-1 has, it forms a yellow precipitate with silver nitrate. ठीक है. तो इसका मतलब है it is I-1, so that makes it T. Is this clear?
Yes.
Yes.
अच्छा, अब अगला जो पार्ट है ना वो ये कि अच्छा, you're preparing an insoluble salt. Insoluble salt कौन से मेथड से प्रिपेयर होती है? Any insoluble salt. How do you prepare that?
Precipitation, then filtration, then washing and drying.
ठीक है, that's fine. Any insoluble salt, like barium sulfate is insoluble, that is always produced by ionic precipitation. What happens is you mix two compounds, one containing barium ions, like barium chloride, and the other containing sulfate ions, like sodium sulfate. तो आप क्या करते हो कि you get barium ions from one compound, sulfate ions from the other one. और क्योंकि aqueous होता है, I mean they have to be soluble. So when they're soluble, all these ions they kind of mix up in the solution: barium ions, Cl ions, Na ions, and SO4 minus 2 ions. So वो सारे they're all roaming around. Barium ions and sulfate ions, if they get together, they would form a precipitate of barium sulfate. वो नीचे solid बन के नीचे बैठ जाएगा. And you get a solid precipitate of BSO4. What's left in the solution is NaCl. That is soluble, so that remains part of the solution, that remains aqueous. तो आपको करना क्या होता है? आपको उसको filter करना होता है. You filter the precipitate out. ठीक है, that's precipitation, filtration. और क्या कहा था? You wash the solid precipitate and then you dry it. ठीक है. तो जो भी क्या order बना है?
B.
ठीक है, that's B. So next part, element sodium to argon form pH3 Form pH 3 of the periodic table. Which row describes the trend across pH 3 from left to right? Period 3 में across the period अगर आप चाहते हो periodic table में, what happens to the number of outer shell electrons? Do they increase or decrease? मतलब ग्रुप 1 में कितने होता है आउटर शेल, ग्रुप 5 में कितने, ग्रुप 7 में कितने होते हैं?
Increase.
अच्छा, they increase, right?
Factual.
मेटालिक कौन सा होगा करेक्ट है?
Decrease.
ठीक है, ग्रुप 1 मेटल होगा, लेकिन राइट की तरफ it's going to be non metal, right? And the group number increases, right? So it's going to be C. अच्छा, astatine is below group 7 it's the bottom of group 7. तो astatine की स्टेट क्या होगी? ग्रुप 7 में क्या होता है periodic में? फ्लोरीन, क्लोरीन,
Gas.
ब्रोमीन और आयोडीन. पहले वाले तो गैसेस होते हैं.
And then they become solid.
Bromine is a liquid, red brown liquid, iodine is a solid. तो astatine
Yes.
क्या होगा?
Solid.
Solid होगा. Is it going to be reactive or unreactive?
Unreactive.
So it's going to be D, right? It's going to be very unreactive. So it will not
Yes.
displace anything. ठीक है. चलो ठीक है, ये पूरा पेपर कंप्लीट करना. ठीक है, ये मुझे सेंड कर देना 25 onwards. सही है?
Okay, sir.
Okay, sir. Allah Hafiz.
चलो. Okay, ठीक
Okay,
है.
sir. Allah Hafiz.